Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always, and I'm super pumped to have the human Energizer Bunny on the show today, Sandy Carter, the Chief Operating Officer and Head of Biz Dev for the one and only Unstoppable Domains, a platform for user-owned digital identity. As COO, Sandy is responsible for driving growth and developing business strategies in pursuit of the company's mission to provide user-owned identity for the whole world. She also drives partnerships and integrations for Web3 and the Metaverse. Prior to Unstoppable, Sandy was a VP at AWS, ever heard of them, where she created and grew businesses in emerging tech, leveraging AI, blockchain, and AR and VR. Before that, she was the GM at IBM and a Silicon Valley startup founder. She's done it all, and she recently also published a new book on Web3 and AI called The Tiger and the Rabbit. It's been a hot minute. We've been going back and forth for a while, and I am very pumped to have the human Energizer Bunny on the show. Sandy Carter, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Matt. Wow, what an intro. I really appreciate that. It's such an honor to be on your show and to be here with all your listeners. I can't wait for the conversation.
We're pumped to have you on. Now, I love the term and I'm often called a electric factory. I think it's great. I've tried to snag all the Electric Factory domains, but someone's got them all. Someone's got the Energizer Bunny domains as well. It's probably the one and only Sandy, but I got to ask, where did that nickname come from?
Well, I just, for some reason, I have a lot of energy. And so I like to do a lot of things. So you just talked about, I wrote a book, I speak, I run part of the company for Unstoppable. I'm on a board. I just like to do a lot of things. And it keeps my mind really active. And so people just started calling me Energizer Bunny. They started giving me like the little Energizer bunnies.
Yeah.
Then they started giving me everything pink. Like the Energizer Bunny. And so it just kind of stuck. And so that's kind of how I got my name. And I just keep going and going and going, I guess.
I love that. That is a pretty sweet name to have. Before we get into Unstoppable and all the fun stuff, tell me a little bit about your past. You've done a whole lot of everything. You've held very high positions at some of the biggest and most reputable companies across the country. And then you jump to Web3. Let's go back to square one. Where'd you go to school? What happened after school? And sort of walk us through all the way to present day.
Well, I went to Duke University where I love Duke. I studied computer science and math. But little known fact, I also was the tutor for the Duke basketball team. This was when Coach K had just come in and we just started getting some wins on our belt. So I really pride myself in knowing some of those guys and helping them get through their math. And actually, computer science was one of the prereqs for freshmen. So I helped a lot of those freshmen get some of those prereqs under their sleeves. I then went to work, and then I was able to go back to Harvard Business School, which another school I absolutely love for completely different reasons. Obviously, the basketball team's different than Duke, which has a phenomenal team, but Harvard Business School is all case study, and it was very different for me coming from math, computer science. So I love that. I learned so much and then just made these great connections with so many different people that have now done phenomenal things. And then fast forward, I've done, multiple roles, marketing, engineering, business development, strategy, sales for, lots of companies, always using my technology to help really propel forward where we're headed or what we're doing, usually looking at emerging tech. So, when spatial computing just came out or when IoT just came out or cloud, like now cloud seems like an old tech, but, when it was a new technology, that's really what I like to focus in on. I was at Amazon, and I love Amazon, by the way. If you ever have a chance to go work for Amazon Web Services, do it because you learn so much about how to have leadership principles that you really live by, not just are a sign up on the wall, how to build businesses, how to think about businesses. And while I was there, our team started seeing a lot of these emerging tech. So they're like, well, Sandy, go look at what these companies are doing with blockchain. That was like my first request because it was in emerging tech. These are all Web2 companies, banks, hospitals using it for supply chain.
Interesting.
And I really just went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, this is really cool tech. Like blockchain is really awesome. I love the programmability about it, how it really decentralized things, but made things easier, cutting out that middle person. And so then we had a lot of our customers using spatial for education and learning, which was the foundation for the metaverse. And it just so happened I fell in love with it. I started doing lots of side projects, buying some NFTs here and there,
Yeah.
building out some different apps with blockchain. And about that time, Matt Gold, who's our CEO at Unstoppable, came up to Seattle and said, "Hey, let's go do a dinner." I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go do a dinner. And he talked to me about the digital identity platform, and kind of the rest is history. Here I am. I've been here for almost 2 years.
That's incredible. A couple points we got to touch on. When you were at Duke, also go Blue Devils. Did you tutor anyone who is now playing, or I guess back in the day, who now or did play in the NBA? Any of the big dogs?
Let's see. Well, it was a pretty good while ago. So you know what? I tutored Johnny Dawkins, who is now a coach. Tommy Amaker, who is now a coach. Um, Johnny Dawkins did play in the NBA. Grant Hill, who
Oh
played
yeah,
in the NBA and got
classic.
hurt.
Yeah.
So some of the guys from a long time ago, probably even before your time. But yes, I did. And the one really cool moment I have to tell you, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan,
Yeah.
even though he went to Carolina, which is
Yeah.
like
The
that for
worst.
Dookie. But I still remember meeting him and being impressed, even when he was just at UNC, being so impressed with who he was. And I remember telling at that time my best girlfriend, that guy's going to do something really special. And,
What
the
what
rest is
was it?
history for
What
him.
was it about him? Did he just have that aura, that same
Just,
like
he
killer
was just,
drive?
yeah, he was just really smart. His comments, like I expected him to be almost like just a jock. But when we were chatting, because I was doing something with Johnny Dawkins, who was a friend of Michael's, he was just really smart, intelligent, and insightful, like really
Yeah,
insightful.
he got
So I
it.
just knew he had that good business sense. I also really liked it because he was very grounded in family. He's very close
Yeah.
to his mom.
Yep.
And I always thought that, anybody who is going to take care of their family, do the right thing by their family, is someone who's going to be very successful, because I think that's really important, having that good support structure. And he's
100%.
become, obviously a superstar.
The GOAT, the one and only MJ.
Yeah, the one and only. That's right.
How can you hate MJ? And the last point before we get into some new fun stuff here. The AWS. I've read the Jeff Bezos books. I've seen the Amazon leadership. It is world class, and they just groom incredible people like you to become even more incredible. Did you ever have to implement the infamous pizza rule, where you cannot have more than, every person at the table must have 2 slices of pizza, and that is it? Was that a rule back then when you were there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's real. I mean, if you think about it, Amazon is like the largest startup you'll ever go to.
Yeah.
And so that's how they keep it small. Like your teams have to be really small. And that's the cool thing about Amazon is, the 2 pizza rule, making good decisions, strong decisions, diving deep, all that stuff. We lived it every day. It wasn't just something in a book or on a poster. You truly live it for sure.
Yeah, that's wow, the economy in the world can definitely learn a hell of a lot from Jeff and everyone at Amazon. And present day, you are at the one and only Unstoppable Domains. Everyone in crypto knows about Unstoppable Domains, and I feel like it's one of the Web3 companies. Mind you, you guys aren't just Web3, Web2 and Web3, but one of the companies that a lot of Web2 folks are cognizant of as well because of the use cases. Because I feel like user identity, digital identity is one of those things that if you don't understand crypto and blockchain, you can still sort of put your finger on the pulse of that and how much it matters and how we're becoming more and more integrated with digital tech and more anonymous. And being able to have a domain that's not just a website is pretty friggin' cool. You can obviously explain this much better than I can. I'm going to throw the ball over to your court, Sandy. Give us a quick sort of elevator pitch, TLDR, on what exactly Unstoppable Domains is, and then we'll get into some of the fun stuff.
Yeah, so Unstoppable Domains is a digital identity platform. It is the way that you log in and collect data about yourself. So unlike Web 2, where you go to log into, let's say, Google or TikTok or Instagram, where you use a separate username and password, Anytime you use that username and password, all that data being collected is collected and used by that company. And we know this for sure because we know Google and Facebook or Meta just made $100 billion selling our data. So we know that they're collecting and that they're using it. We also know that your user ID isn't yours. We just saw with X, when the rebrand happened, that X was taken away from someone and given to Elon because now X is his brand. And so, in those scenarios, your digital identity, as well as your data, is not yours. It belongs to the platform. Well, in Web3, everything changes because in Web3, that digital identity is owned by you, as well as all the data is yours as well. And so you can monetize it or get rewards for it. You control it. And because it sits and lives on the blockchain, now that data belongs to you and no one else can take it away from it. No one can remove just like we talked about earlier, right? You were like, I want Matt.x. Well, I can't go take Matt.x from somebody and give it to you
Yeah.
because it's theirs. They
100%.
own it. And the data, the data that you have stored about you is your data too. So if you decide to share it with an application, then you can do that. But if you decide not to, I can't override you and share your data. So I think it really changes and disrupts the whole model that exists out there today in Web 2. And it makes it more powerful for us as individuals to be able to own that data. And I think that's important for us today, but it's more important for that next generation.
Yes.
Like I have 2 daughters and they won't share their data. Like their data is their data. They're both on Roblox, which,
Yeah.
enables them to build. All those digital assets are hugely valuable to them. In fact, my daughter just had a birthday and I was asking her what she wants. She doesn't want anything in real life. She wants Robux so she can go buy digital assets. So that next generation coming up, I mean, this whole transformation is in motion right now. And I think that, that next generation understands the power of a digital asset and owning your identity.
I love the point you brought up with your daughter. And and I've said this many times on the pods, this is gonna, sound like beating a dead fish here, but one of my favorite sort of studies and, really just a study every year that happens is when they ask American students what you want to be when you grow up. 30 years ago, it was astronaut, firefighter, lawyer, banker, doctor, professional athlete. Now it is YouTuber, professional streamer, professional Roblox player, esports, TikTok influencer. It's a whole different world out there.
They want your job, Matt. That's what they want. They want your job.
The young kids get it, right? But, what do you and the team say when you're trying to pitch someone like my parents, right? Like the baby boomers who wouldn't get the importance of Sandy.x, but I see that right away and I'm like, damn, that's sick. And then I go to look for Matt.x and then I find out that your CEO, who has the same, insert basic Catholic name as me, also has that. There's 6 trillion Matts in the world. But how do you pitch that to a baby boomer and sort of get them to understand the importance of digital identity?
Yeah, first of all, I would say it takes a lot more time.
Right.
I'm an adjunct professor at Carnegie Mellon, and I was teaching students who are going through computer science class, how to set up their wallet, how to get their own digital identity. It took me 20 minutes, Matt, to do that. I was also asked to teach that same class to chief digital officers of major Fortune 1000 companies. Now, these are super smart people, right? They wouldn't be a chief digital officer if they weren't wicked smart. And they have technical expertise because they're digital. But it took me 2.5 hours. It was really hard for them to grasp the concept of
too much friction, way too much friction. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is really hard talking to a baby boomer about the power of what this is. And, typically we'll talk to teams and they'll get super excited in Web2 brands because they're, that other generation. And then they go up a level to talk to their boss and they're like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Now, the way that I typically have been talking lately is all about business, right? So if your technology can have business done better, then you can get an audience. So for example, let's take loyalty. If you think about loyalty today is super inefficient. A lot of companies still have like a paper passport and you get a stamp when you do something and then you get rewards for that, right? I know we just went into a shoe store because my daughter wanted a new pair of shoes. They gave me this paper card with a stamp on it. I'm like, what? I'm going to lose that like in a nanosecond. Was so very inefficient. So think about it on the blockchain. Like if you could store those stamps as NFTs and they're living with you, you can identify that person. You can make it a soul-bound token so it couldn't be transferred. So
Yeah.
you know that you're giving a reward to someone. That really resonates with that next generation because that generation understands how to make money, how to become more efficient.
Bingo.
Those are things that are important to them. So those type of use cases really has a big impact on a Web2 brand.
That's a great point. So you go the business angle, just so because again, the boomers get business. Once you show them some it's like anything else in the world. It's usually money, which makes the world go round, and business is synonymous with money. It incentivizes them, and then they finally get it.
Yep, you got it. As well as the engagement. The interesting thing is all these companies too are trying to figure out how to reach that next generation.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to reach my daughter, you're not going to do it with a paper
No,
ticket.
God, no.
You're going to do it with instant messaging or, even Roblox. If you consider Roblox, I don't really even consider it a metaverse or Web3, Web 2.5. It's a social platform.
It is.
I mean, people go out there to make friends and to talk. And that's what that platform is. It's all about engagement. It's all about engagement. And that's another, I think, great way to present that this really enables engagement. And, some of the new announcements that we've just recently made also are really important for amping up that engagement with users as well.
That is a great point. And speaking of announcements, we are going to get into some of these big boy and gal announcements. Right after we take a quick break, we got to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show. That is the one and only Prime XPT, longtime friends of cryptonews.com and longtime sponsors of the show. We absolutely love them and their team as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XPT is also running an exclusive promotion for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. After making your first deposit, 50% of that first deposit will be credited to your account as a bonus that can be used as additional collateral to open positions. The promo code is CryptoNews50. That's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50 to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with the Energizer Bunny, Sandy. Couple of these big announcements. Two big ones that just popped off. Again, this episode is going to air early September. Let's start with XMTP. We had these guys on the show. Incredible team. XMTP offers fully integrated, decentralized messaging platforms. And the best part is you get your own domain similar to Unstoppable. Of course, that's why you guys partnered with them, because now you are giving them the optionality and the accessibility for the domains. This is a huge partnership. They've also partnered with Coinbase Wallet, Lens Protocol. This seems like a no-brainer. How big was this for you and the team?
Oh, this was amazing. So I first want to back up and tell you how we got to this concept of messaging with a domain. So, simply messaging with a domain means that if you had Matt.x, I could take Sandy.x and message you. And that really increases engagement because now you're able to reach out to somebody through that domain, which gives you tremendous access. But in addition, that message is decentralized and encrypted. So if anything did happen to Unstoppable, you can still get to your messages. Those won't be taken away. You still have all of that data. So what I love about this story, going back to Amazon Web Services, one of our big things is working backwards from the customer. Never starting with tech, like, oh, messaging is cool, let's do something with it, but trying to figure out what our customer wants. So a lot of our partners, like Polygon, for example, kept coming to us and saying, you know what, we need a better way to engage with everybody who holds a .polygon domain. It would be great if we could message all those people who hold the domain. And so we started working backwards from that, and we ended up with the messaging with XMTP for P2P, and we use push technology for business to user messaging. Why did we use two separate protocols? We did that because we want to make sure that we're Switzerland, like we're ensuring that you, whatever you use, right? Whether you use XMTP or whether you use push or whatever you choose to use for messaging, you can do it with an unstoppable domain. So the announcement with XMTP was exciting because it enabled person-to-person messaging through a domain, which also means because Coinbase orchestrated that with a wallet, now you could go from a domain to a Coinbase wallet or
Send money
to a
as well.
Lens profile as well. So it really opened up. Now you're not just messaging with 3.8 million unstoppable domains, but you also now have the capability to message with a Coinbase wallet, message with a Lens protocol as well, which gave it so much power. The other really cool thing we did is, a part of being COO, I also own community and support. And so we said, wow, today our support comes in through Discord, Telegram, email. What if we allowed customers to message support? And what a tremendous reaction. So we were drinking our own champagne, as I call it.
Love
And
that.
we built an app on top of XMTP to do that customer support. It has worked out fabulously because people want a quick answer. They can just message us. It's very friendly, very engaging. If someone has a really big, tough, gnarly problem, we send them to email to write it out. But normally we can solve problems really, really, really quick and fast. And in fact, it's so cool, Matt. I've already had 6 partners reach out to me saying, can we buy that customer support application from you? We really like that.
Love that.
So it's really neat, right? It's great when you build something for yourself that then others want, and then you can sell that too.
Isn't that the whole essence of building businesses though? Like you build shit that you would use and then the flywheel happens and the rest takes care of itself. That's what it's all about.
You got it.
That's
Love
awesome.
the flywheel, the AWS flywheel. You got it. And then the second thing on the messaging is we announced business to user messaging. So this was really about a partner wanting to message everybody in their tribe, everybody in their community, and make it personal, right? So like Sandeep, the CEO of Polygon, can message everybody who has a .polygon domain or who owns more than X number of Polygon domains. And so that is really powerful too, having the business be able to message users, be able to reward those users, back to that loyalty piece we talked about earlier. And Web2 companies love this. Because think about if you're like a large company, you may not know your customers.
Yeah.
They may go through a third-party distributor. So you don't ever actually talk to them. And a lot of these Web2 companies are dying for engagement with their customers. And so every time I've now demoed this to a Web2 company, they're like, wow, this means I can directly now communicate with the customer, not with the person who sold it to someone who sold it to someone who sold my product, but now I can directly communicate with that person. And so it gets them really excited about this extra lens of engagement.
That's huge because Web2 companies, like the only 2 true touch points, 3, I guess, that you have for your customer. Number 1 being the most front of mind, which is in person, which is very rare and very difficult to do, especially with the prominence of everything being online and being digital now. Number 2 is your email list, which is really the only thing you actually own. It's the only thing that that someone cannot take from you. And even then, in theory, they could. And then thirdly is the most popular, which is socials. And just like you said about 15 minutes ago, if you own, unstoppable domains or the unstoppable domain on Twitter, Muskie could just wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm not feeling Sandy and the team. I'm gonna swipe this from you, and it's all gone. So having true access, one-on-one access to every single person in your community is absolutely massive. If you need a new sales guy to come in and push that, holler at your boy here. that seems like very low hanging fruit, and I can truly believe that companies are lining up for that.
Yep.
Very interesting. And another partnership that you guys did, and again, this was one of my big questions, not questions, but concerns rather, is someone can hide behind a domain, similar to how someone can hide behind a @social media profile. And a couple of days ago, on the 22nd of August, you guys partnered with Rarimo, who is one of the leaders in the sort of, proof of humanity, which is huge. Another huge partnership by you guys, takes away a lot of the bots, and more than 230,000 X domains have already been claimed. I absolutely love this. What was the purpose of this? How long did it take to get this going? Tell me more about this partnership.
Yeah. So, this is really important, especially right now with AI coming in. There's so many bots out there right now. How do you know that a person is really a person? And so we've been working with Raremo now for several months, and they were building out a way to declare proof of humanity. Now, this is super cool because when you enter, like, let's say an application like Galaxy, one of my very favorites because it's Web3 loyalty. Now you can prove that you are a human. And so they're not filled with a bunch of people going on these quests that are bots, which mean nothing to you. Now you can get to the real person who's using it. How many real people are using or leveraging that loyalty and doing your tweets and your retweets as you go along? The same thing is true with Decentraland. When you go into Decentraland, we actually built a headquarters for our unstoppable women of Web3 in Decentraland. And we had a lot of people who would come in, but they would be bots. So we were like, oh, wow, we had 16,000 people today. Well, no, we didn't. 4,000 of those were bots. And so
Yes.
it just became really hard. And so, again, through this partnership with Raremo, now if you're coming into Decentraland, you can use an unstoppable domain to declare that you're a human. And this is really, I think this is only going to grow in importance, Matt. And I think this is going to make blockchain explode once people understand this. Because you can do a trust verification of who you are. Do you remember when that picture was on Twitter of the Pope in the puffer jacket?
Yes, of course.
And everybody was like using it, like going, oh, this is so cool. He's in a puffer jacket. It turned out it wasn't even a true picture.
It was Mid-Journey, stable diffusion model. Someone,
Yeah.
Pope in a puffer jacket, boom, goes 20 gazillion impressions. Crazy.
Yeah. And so, would have been cooler if you had been able to verify with proof of humanity that the Pope certifies that is my picture, right? That's really cool. And that's what you can do here. So we're real excited about this, especially with the explosion of AI. We do believe that this is going to become even more and more important. Now, for all of my Web3 folks out there who do not like to be doxxed, they want to be anonymous. You don't have to use this. So it's a choice, right? Proof of humanity is a choice. But I do think for certain tasks, even as a Web3 lover, believer in the ethos, I do see that there are areas, and this is all zero proof, right? So you're not, if you're giving away information about you as a human, you're not giving away your age. You're just proving that you're over or under a certain age. You're not actually saying how old you are. So it still protects you because it's using that zero proof, but it just enables people to make better decisions. So I think it's a big win for Web3, big win for Web2 for sure.
Yeah, great point there. Another thing we need to jump into, speaking of AI, is your new book, and that is called The Tiger and the Rabbit. So many questions about the book. First, we're going to start with the title, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about writing and launching a book. I've heard it is incredibly difficult, very fun. You learn a ton. I love it. It's very clean. What is with the title? Why The Tiger and the Rabbit?
Well, so in the book, the book is actually written for companies who want to use Web3. And so I talk about forming a team of people, and I called it a rabbit team. So, because in Web3, you go down the rabbit hole.
Ah, interesting.
And the rabbit is, if you think about a rabbit is fast and it's reacting to things that are going on. Typically, if you work in a corporation, I've been on many, many tiger teams. And a tiger team is formed and then it disperses. Like, hey, we have a problem. We need to get his Matt.x. Let's form a tiger team and we'll go figure that out. Once we've solved the problem, then we dissolve. But in this space with all this emerging tech, so the book has Web3 in it, it has AI in it, it's got spatial computing in it. You really need a team that stays together. And so I called that the rabbit team. And I love the fact that Wiley was the one who selected the title. They love that. I had folks like Pepsi read it. They actually plunked out immediately, I need a rabbit team. I actually have a quote from them on the back that says they renamed their emerging tech team the rabbit team because of that. The other thing that I think is really cool, so the book is about, Web3 and AI. And so we actually used AI to design the cover. So I had 2 covers that came out, and I had all of my fans and followers on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter vote on the cover, but both covers were designed by AI. So the choice of the fonts and the rabbit and the tiger and everything. So I think that's really cool, right? Again, drinking your own champagne, that you're using your own ideas.
And the actual writing process, the launch, talking to publishers, the book tour, the whole 9 yards. Walk me through that, because I feel like 99% of the population, myself included, have zero clue. I've been fortunate to have a couple of guests on the show who have launched multiple books. And it interests the living heck out of me. This is something that, obviously I'm a little too young and haven't done enough to write one right now. But in the future, hopefully when I'm a little more chiseled and have a little bit more experience and a little more value to give back, I would love to do this. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I love the nostalgia and just the feeling of having a book in your hand. Again, it's very rare nowadays. We don't get this enough. Walk me through the whole process, Sandy. Very curious to understand how you made this bad boy happen.
Yeah. So Wiley actually approached me about doing a book. They said that they're constantly, again, working backwards from their customer. And their customers said, there's all this emerging tech out there, but it's really hard to understand it. You like to tell stories, and we really need a storyteller.
Yes,
and so one of the
bingo.
things you'll notice right away, I don't know if you can see it, but this is actually a business fable. So it's a very different book than what I'm used to writing. So it's not like a book that says, what is Web3? What is AI? Here's what you do. It actually has characters in it. I have V, who's trying to explore what to do with this technology for her company, and Rex, who comes in to help her. And I use some of our whales as characters and some other people as characters. So I actually have dialogue in the book. And Wiley specifically wanted this to be a business fable because they felt like every book out there today was too complicated. People weren't getting what is Web3?
Yeah.
What is AI? They were confused. And so I hope I did a good job. But up front of the book is a dialogue about what is it and trying to use real world examples and stories to explain it. And then the second half of the book is a set of frameworks. So it's what we've used with Web2 companies, with Web3 companies to help them think through, what is my Web3 strategy? Like, how should I use it? Is it loyalty, or should I use it for engagement? Or what AI tool should I use? I just spoke at a major conference and my presentation won Best Graphics. I did all of them with Midjourney. And so, do you need a company to design your graphics for you? Maybe, maybe not. That's why I wanted to see if the cover of the book could be designed by artificial intelligence. And so the book is kind of hopefully fun. I actually had to take a class, Matt, to learn how to write dialogue. Like I've never written dialogue before.
I don't even know where to start. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took a class from a best-selling fiction author on how to write dialogue, did the business fable gig. So anyway, so we're going to see. So fingers crossed, I'll send you a copy.
I'd love that.
If any of your listeners want to get it, it's available up on Amazon, The Tiger and the Rabbit. And I'd love to know what you think. Like, did I do a good job of explaining it in really simple terms or not? So let me know what you think for sure.
I would love that. I read in the morning and before bed. I never read during the day. Again, too much Twitter, too many emails, too much pizzazz. But in the morning and at night, I always read. So I would love to throw that right up here on the bookshelf. That would be an absolute treat.
You got it.
Let's keep buzzing on AI for a sec. There's so much AI. You just talked about Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. Midjourney is probably my favorite tool. I love ChatGPT, don't get me wrong, but Midjourney, and again, when I show my friends and family Midjourney, they're blown away. Everyone knows what ChatGPT is. Whether you're 10 or 80, you know what ChatGPT is. If you're 10, you use it to cheat in school. And if you're 80, you're curious about it. You probably haven't used it. But Midjourney is so much fun. I'm not an artsy person. I'm an athlete, and I always feel like in life, you're either one of the two. Very few people are both. If you are both, kudos. You hit the genetic, the gene pool jackpot. I've never had a creative, an artistic bone in my body. And this has allowed me to create incredible images that I never would have dreamed of doing. And again, folks, all you need to do, go to Midjourney, you use it in Discord, and I can literally be like, a picture of a 28-year-old Canadian looking dude in a black shirt in an office, and it'll spit out a picture that looks like this. It is absolute world class. What are some of your favorite AI tools right now? Maybe non-obvious ones, if there's any that aren't the ChatGPTs or Stable Diffusion Midjourneys that you're using present day.
Well, another tool that I like for drawing is Lexica. I don't know if you've used Lexica before, but I find Lexica also to be really cool for looking and exploring what's going on. Have you used that one or not?
I haven't, no, but it's on my to-do list as soon as this show's done.
Is pretty cool. Some of the other tools that I use are So I do a lot of videos, and you do too, obviously. So there's something called Common Sim that helps you with video editing, which
Yeah.
I really like.
Yeah.
There's another tool called Mim. I use that for feedback. It will summarize, let's say, like I just said, we got, thousands of messages coming in, and we can input all those messages, and Mim will come out with a feedback summary. And it'll say,
Huge.
99% of every piece of feedback said, we need emojis. We need you guys to support emojis. So I think it's really cool. I also love Poised. So I do a lot of keynote speaking, and Poised will actually coach me on how I'm coming across, like when I should make a point, when I should pause.
Interesting.
And it's really good too. So those are just some of the tools that I love to use today.
Well, free alpha from Sandy here. Literally the mayor of Alpha Town coming in hot over here. I love that. Sandy, last thing, and this has been incredible, and I need you on for round 2 because we've barely scratched the surface here, but we'll take a quick moment. We'll jump in the hot take factory. You and I put our knee high, shit kicking boots on, let a couple fly. I need a couple Sandy hot takes before we let you go. Doesn't have to be crypto, blockchain, AI, can be health, wealth, happiness, space, race, food, aliens, you name it. But give me a couple Sandy hot takes before we let you go.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. One of my hot takes. I think that as we move forward with all the new technology that's coming out, I think that we're going to see a huge convergence of tech. Today we see people talking about AI. We see people talking about spatial, people talking about quantum computing. I see all of these things converging. I don't see a lot of people talking about that yet, but I do see the convergence of these technologies. And this is another reason why I think that people don't need to have tiger teams that come together and then disperse, because I think the knowledge of all of these tools together are what's going to be really, really powerful. Hot take number 2, I think, as we're looking at the future, I think that blockchain is going to grow exponentially because of AI. I kind of mentioned it before, but because blockchain, the way they do the hashing, blockchain can identify if you are a person. With all the deep fakes out there, I just keynoted at an AI forum. You might be like, what? You're like, your digital identity for Web3. I just keynoted at an AI forum because the number one concern for CEOs was, how do I know that what I'm looking at is real? Like, how do I know it's your voice? How do I know that it's your email? How do I know that? Blockchain can help that. So I just see AI pushing blockchain forward at just a magnificent rate and pace, kind of like what it's done for NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA has the chips, $1 trillion company now. And I think that that's going to be, a really, really, really big area. Hot take number 3, maybe not too hot take, but I will say that I'm seeing more growth of Web3, crypto, and everything outside the US, more innovation happening because of the rules and regulations.
Yes,
now,
agreed.
I know, we just heard about grayscale. We just had the Coinbase ruling for the futures. We just had Ripple win some cases. I think that we in the US really need to sit down and get our regulations clear so that people can operate here and therefore innovate. I'm really afraid that if we don't do that quickly, that other areas of the world, the Middle East, I'm getting ready to go to token, Asia, they're going to outpace us in innovation because the regulations are set up to spur innovation. And I think right now, because we're unclear in the US, it's stalling innovation. I mean, a lot of Web2 companies are afraid to even use Web3 until the rules and regulations are clear.
Hey, Sandy, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I'm Canadian. It's even worse here. I mean, it's, all the top talent, regardless what field you're in, tech, banking, health, doctors, everyone's gone. Everyone leaves and usually goes to your neck of the woods for a good reason, because you provide more opportunity and there's more regulatory framework. So c'est la vie, it is what it is. But Canada, Trudeau, if you're listening, and he's definitely not listening, but on the slim chance you are, open up the borders a little, let some good innovation happen. But Sandy, absolute pleasure. Had an absolute blast. Learned a ton. And you gave me some homework to do, which I love, and cannot wait to read your book too. This has been an absolute treat. Can't wait to have you on for round 2. Before you go, please let our listeners know where they can find you, Unstoppable, and your book online and on socials.
Yeah, so for Unstoppable, we're unstoppabledomains.com. So go there and grab that domain before someone takes it, like Matt just talked about, Matt.xgon. So go out there and grab that. On Twitter, we're Unstoppable Web. I don't know why, but that's what we are. So if you follow us at Unstoppable Web, we've got about 380,000 followers. So it's really fun. We have a great community. You can find me on all social platforms. I'm Sandy_Carter on Twitter, Sandy Carter Founder on Instagram, and just Sandy Carter on LinkedIn. I'd love for you guys to come. And I would love for you guys to grab a copy of the book. And it's available on Amazon. Look for The Tiger and the Rabbit, search on my name, and you should be able to find it. I'll also give you a link, Matt. I don't know if you do links in your podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll also give you a link. I really, truly would love your feedback on it to see if I hit the mark on some easy frameworks and some easy ways to tell stories about what Web3 is.
You got it. Sandy, thanks a lot for coming on. Can't wait for round 2. Until then, all the best, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Matt.
Folks, what an episode with Sandy Carter from the one and only Unstoppable Domains, dropping a silly amount of knowledge bombs left, right, and center, alpha everywhere. We'd love to see it. Huge shout out to Sandy and the team for coming on. This was truly great. Listeners, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. If you enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe to my team. Love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Eustace, my sound editor, you are the GOAT. Appreciate you as always. And back to the listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags. Keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.